Happy Friday, everybody, and happy first day of summer. I'm Fox 19 Now First Alert Meteorologist Brad Maushart here in the streaming center on what looks to be a very summer-like start to summer outside, as we've been talking about. Today is cool as it's going to get. Yesterday was as cool as it was going to get. Today's now is as cool as it's going to get. Saturday is going to be as cool as it's going to get, and it's just all up from here. Sunday, we're back in the 90s for the first time this year, first time since late September of last year. It's been 200-something days, but we're going to get there as our first heat dome of the year settles on into the Ohio Valley. And it's going to really it's going to make things a little uncomfortable in the next week. We'll talk about that coming up in just a bit. Let's talk about summer first, the first day of summer. Summer has not actually officially started. I know it's the first day of summer, but the summer solstice itself is at 10:42. That is its max point here, working its way northward. That sun angle, but nonetheless, it is our first day of summer. Just hasn't started yet. 14 hours, 55 minutes, and 8 seconds of daylight today. Most daylight of the year. Things will start to trickle on down. We'll lose just about under a second tomorrow. So tomorrow's still going to be a long day, too, and we're going to hold on to the long days until we hit about late August. That's when you'll really start to notice it, because we'll start to lose about 2 minutes a day from there on out. And we still got 94 days left of summer, so plenty of time, 3 months there until autumn officially begins in late September. Speaking of sun angle, this is, like I said, our maximum sun angle of the year. It is noon, so we are there. And our sun angle here for the month of June, and particularly today, here being the summer solstice, it's 74.3 degrees overhead almost, right? Almost directly overhead. Overhead would be 90, so close to it. That's as high as it gets here in Cincinnati. It's pretty close to that in May and July, too. Still in the 70-degree range, and then we'll start to work our way down. That's when we'll get the shorter and shorter days, working our way towards the first day of fall. All right, enough about summer. Let's talk about some summer heat, right? Because this is what's going to really ramp up as we work our way into the second half of the weekend. Tomorrow is still going to be relatively comfortable. Saturday, not bad, but humidity is a little higher. Tomorrow feels like temperatures, are going to be in the low to mid 90s. It's hot, but not as hot as what we're going to start to see on Sunday. We have our first big heat wave of the year. It's a little bit maybe behind schedule. We typically see a 90-degree temperature at least by June the 9th. That's normal. So we're a little bit behind schedule there, but we're going to make up for it here with a string of 90s. After Sunday, we do not have another sub-90 high temperature in the forecast. 90-plus each day. You start to factor in that high humidity, it will feel like somewhere between 100 to 105 degrees. That'll be the feels-like temperature. Now, the National Weather Service has reworded their advisories, their watches, warnings when it comes to heat and cold. It used to be excessive heat warnings, right? It's now an extreme heat warning. I don't love that phrasing because it makes it feel like you're going to be on the surface of the sun or something, but nonetheless, we do have an extreme heat watch in place starting on Sunday, with those heat index values expected to climb between 100 to 105 degrees. So that's what we're keeping an eye on for the second half of the weekend. Right now, again, fairly comfortable by those standards. 81 degrees outside. Feels like only a chilly 83 right now, and humidity of 58%. Still manageable. Fair weather clouds drifting on through. That's it. A little bit of a breeze, too. You can see those little puffy cumulus clouds showing up here on satellite and radar imagery. Radar, not too busy in our area. We do have a little bit of thicker cloud cover there to the west. That's going to try to push its way in. That's kind of residual cloud cover from a storm system that's been pushing through northern Illinois and Iowa before that. All that rain, though, is going to try to fall apart as it works its way in this afternoon. The high-resolution models don't have that making it in, but we could see some more, cloud cover to filter some of the sunshine, give you a little bit of shade here before the heat wave really starts to ramp up. So today, here's your forecast, 84. Again, not bad. 0% chance of rain out there. 84 is normal. That is where we should be on the first day of summer here for June the 20th. And then we'll work our way down this evening. Once that sun does set, temperatures will drop off a bit, but still fairly mild. And that's going to be another half of the story that I'm going to tell you about when we come up, into next week. It is not going to cool down all that much. So those that don't have air conditioning, that rely on some, open windows at night to get some of the heat out of there, you're not going to have that opportunity. And that's why this heat wave, and, that's why they do issue the extreme heat watch and so on. Because, a lot of people get used to the air conditioning. Some of, us sometimes will take it for granted. Some people do not have air conditioning. So when it comes to that, heat fans, a lot of the heat-related messaging for those with air conditioning, not necessarily for you all the time, because there are those that do not have it, right? or exposed to the elements that are outside all day long. So a lot of times I'll have people that get on Facebook and they'll say, oh, it's not that bad. It's July. It should be that way, right? June or July, right? Whatever it is. But despite that, these messages aren't necessarily always for you. There are for most of us. It will be hot. If you have to be outside, obviously that's an issue. But for those that don't have the AC, next week is going to be, I don't want to overhype it, but it will be, a dangerous week if you don't have that air conditioning, or if your air conditioning goes out. Just because we won't have that relief at night. At best, low 70s. And, that's high humidity, low 70s, very sultry, low to mid 70s. So it's not going to help you cool off that much at night to crack the windows open if you have to do that. So we'll get there. Let's talk about, the next couple of days first, and then we'll talk about the big heat wave. Today, again, mid 80s. It will be a little bit more sticky than yesterday. You'll notice it, but still not that bad. Manageable temperatures and humidity outside today. 84 out there at Lunkin, 84 at Harrison. Tomorrow, cool start, upper 60s in most spots, pretty comfortable. Once the sun rises, though, temperatures are going to jump up in a hurry. By about 10 o'clock, we'll be at 79 degrees as you're getting ready for the third of 4 Club World Cup matches being hosted over at TQL Stadium. This one between Borussia Dortmund and the Mamelodi Sundowns out of South Africa, with a great crest for their shirts there. The sky is the limit. The sky is going to be sultry out there all weekend long, and especially for that next match on Wednesday. That's the 4th and final match at TQL Stadium. For that, you will want to have a shady seat, if possible, for that game. At 12 o'clock start there, 86 the high temperature in the afternoon. Again, just a very warm start to the weekend, and it's only going up from there. So back above normal by Saturday. 90s, that'll be our first 90-degree temperature, again, going back to September of last year, so in about 273 days in between that span. 90 on Sunday, and here we go. High pressure building in. It's going to be sitting on us like a lid on a pot, right? It's going to hold down most of the rain chances. By Monday, Tuesday, we could certainly see a stray shower or two to help try to cool things down a little bit, but it's going to be more hot and humid and sunny than anything. Our next chance for spotty showers, again, not a great rain chance, but at least a chance, arrives on Thursday as high pressure gets just a little bit farther away from us, but it's out of here, and then Friday looks mostly dry. Saturday of the next weekend, we're talking the 28th and 29th, that's where I think we could see some better rain chances pushing in. But that's a long ways out, and a lot of things could change between now and then. But, the heat wave will persist beginning Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 22nd, all the way through the work week, and likely, maybe through Friday before this next rain chance might cool us off and break that 90-degree streak. We'll keep an eye on that. Here's the other another part of the problem. And again, it's just not just the heat. We always say this. It's also the humidity. We're catching a little break. We're right there in the middle of the graphic here this past week, and between that and forecast, we're right there where it's semi-comfortable, right? It's still muggy outside, but manageable. As we work our way into the day tomorrow, those humidity values start to trend up. We're going to get back to very humid by late Saturday night, and then tropical into Sunday. And we're going to stay there each and every day. So the heat and humidity, that's what in combination will make it feel somewhere between 100 to 105 degrees. It's all that humidity, that tropical humidity settling on in. Actual air temperature-wise, it's a string of 90s. That's bad enough. When you start to factor in that humidity, it just becomes just miserable outside. You're going to be swimming in that humidity into next week. And then here's the other part of the problem. Like I said, this is what it's going to make it feel like outside. This is going to zoom by because I only have it set to stay on the high temperatures, but I'm going to stop it here. And in Texas, I don't know exactly what the forecast down in Texas is going to be, but you guys see your fair share of heat as well, so you're no stranger to this. For us, it's maybe a little early in the season to see a heat wave like this, so I'll get to that too coming up in just a second. But here I'm going to zoom ahead to the morning temperatures, 4, 5, 6 o'clock. That's at best what it's going to feel like through the overnights when we start on Monday, and that's one of the cooler days, right? The cooler mornings ahead. 77, you're not going to cool off opening up the window in that. Just a really mild, sticky, summer-like overnight, too. So if you don't have AC, find a place or find a way, a couple fans. You'll have to have something running in the house to stay cool with this. Because it's not just a 2-day thing, a 1-day thing. This is all week long. By Monday, that's the afternoon feels like temperatures. It gets worse on Tuesday. 100 to 105 in most spots. A chilly 99 in Wilmington, right? And it's all week long, Wednesday. Thursday's our next best chance for a few showers, but only a stray shower or two. If we can find some of those showers during the peak daytime heating hours, it could keep us a little cooler. Maybe that model's picking up on that for Lebanon. That's why they're only at 92 in this particular snapshot. But, either way, then we go back to Friday. Still hot, but things start to take a downward trend into next weekend. That's the more cloud cover, the better rain chance of sliding. You can see those bright pink shades there of the 100-plus start to disappear by Saturday and especially on Sunday. It's still not chilly by any means. It's still going to feel like the low to mid-90s, right? But at least it's a little bit of relief with some more cloud cover into next week. So somebody just asked here, Jen was asking with the humidity, will any of the showers or storms turn severe next week? It is summer like you mentioned, but this is something we do, we feel the need to alert about because, it's the first real heat wave of the year. We're not going to be putting first alert days on every single 90-plus day this year. That would be ridiculous. I think, I have some stats on 90-degree-plus years. I was thinking about making a graphic for it, but I ran out of time. We averaged 22 90-degree-plus days per year here in Cincinnati. Last year, we had 37, so almost double normal in 2024. So the 22 number I got was a 30-year running average, right? For the last 30 years, we've averaged 22 90-degree-plus days per year. Last year, we saw 37 of them. Our least recent 90-degree total was 8 in 2014. We saw less than 10 going against the opposite end of the average there in 2014, we saw 8. And then most recently, the most we saw, which was double the average, was in 2012. We saw 44 90-degree-plus days. And we have here in the forecast 6 of them at least, heading through this week, unless for whatever reason we have a shower right over the airport to cool us off. But most areas will see at least 6 this week. The most ever, if you're curious, was 64 90-degree-plus days here in Cincinnati. That was back in 1936. And the least was somewhat recently, for most people probably watching the stream, was in 92. We had 1. We've never had a recorded year, where we didn't have a 90-degree-plus day. Just a little later than normal. Normal first day, again, back to June the 9th is when we typically see these. So stay cool out there. Here's another product. This is a new graphic that I didn't run out of time to build. This product, what you're seeing there, the contour in the background, the reds, the oranges, the yellows, this is an experimental product from the National Weather Service they've started to put out. And it combines, how early in the season, how uncommon is it to have temperatures like this early in the year. It combines how cool it's able to get at night to provide relief. And I just told you we're not going to see much of that through this week ahead. And you'll see why that puts us at the top end of the scale by the middle of this week. So this is Saturday. Saturday, again, it's a moderate, if you're out exercising, you have to get out there and do some yard work. Hello, Aleem. If you're going to be out and about, take plenty of breaks. It's not, you'll need to stay cool out there because it will be ramping up into Saturday, but still manageable, right? By Sunday, that humidity really builds in. And we're back up to a major heat risk potential level, right? Second highest by Sunday because we'll be in the 90s. It'll feel like 100 to 105. And then look what happens as we work way through the rest of the week. Monday, purple, extreme, right? That is the top tier level for this heat risk. And it's, like I said, a combination of we don't typically see temperatures, heat indices. We don't really see that tropical humidity until the plants get a little bit taller and we start seeing that evapotranspiration across the area. That's just a fancy way to call corn sweats evapotranspiration. It's when the plants and all the crops and everything around the area, they get to mature heights and whatnot, and they put off a lot of extra moisture that you feel out there on a summer morning. You don't see that really until late July, early August around this part, the Corn Belt. But it's here already. We're seeing that southerly breeze just transporting that Gulf moisture into the tri-state. And that's what's going to make it feel nasty. You're not going to have a chance through the overnights to cool off if you don't have air conditioning. Mid-70s in a lot of spots out there, just really soupy. Beginning Monday, running through Tuesday, running through Wednesday, and then you can see by Thursday with this spotty shower chance, that's all it takes. It'll drop us in about half of the tri-state back down to a major risk rather than an extreme risk. So that's why this entire week, And again, don't get used to this. We're not going to do this with the next heat wave, but we just wanted to give people, a heads up to say, hey, maybe service your air conditioner. Make sure things are running correctly out there because it is going to be, you don't want to be stuck without the air conditioning if you can help it this week. So don't expect every 90-degree temperature from here on out to be a first alert weather day, but this is why we're putting it on this week until this heat wave snaps, right? So first day of summer today, we're warming back up. Humidity starts to return tomorrow, but it's still relatively manageable. And then Sundays, things really get sultry there on Sunday, and it lasts all week long. Next Red Series, if you're going to that, good news, very limited rain chances. Bad news, very, very hot. It's going to be 100 to 105. Those are the feels-like temperatures, especially by those later games. Wednesday is probably a business person special at 12:40. I haven't looked, but that's usually how they plan those out. Middle of the day, 93 there, and we're talking temperatures at that point. By the time the game wraps up, around 3 to 4 o'clock, it's just really, really warm out there. So be safe. That is also the final Club World Cup match of this session here. It's been fun if you haven't been to those matches. Outside of the rain delay we had with the last one, the storm delay. That's when we had the severe weather ramping through, a couple nights back. Wednesday will be a hot one because that's a 3 o'clock kickoff, and it's peak daytime heating. So be careful out there because a lot of that, you're going to have the sun directly in the stadium on the east side of that stadium, so it's going to be warm. Be prepared for that if you're headed to that. Don't have to cancel plans because, like I said, I don't think we see any big issues other than just the heat. And luckily, you are not going to be the ones running around on the field because it's going to be even hotter for them. 93, the high temperature, and that's about what they're going to be playing in. Feels like temperatures 100 to 105. One other issue, again, this week, on top of all the other things I mentioned, is that as we head through this week, with continued dry weather, high pressure settling in, expect the air quality to start to deteriorate as well as early as Sunday, but we'll probably have bigger issues by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday if we don't get any of those slim shower chances to take hold, because that will help to wash out some of the pollutants in the atmosphere, but again, you're not going to get much of a break with that. So expect deteriorating, that's a really hard word to say when you're half alive and the coffee hasn't really kicked in. Deteriorating air quality, there we go, as we work our way through this week ahead. Not deteriorating temperatures, those are just going to stick around for a while. I don't see any Facebook comments there. Anything new. Let me hop on my page and see if we got anybody on here on a Friday tuning in. Let's see. Hello. Somebody said hello. It's Jackie from Goshen. Jackie, hello. Nice to see you. Yeah, Frankie, that's why it's, it is going to be nasty because, when you start talking about these, triple-digit heat indices and then at best, it's still feeling like 80 degrees at night with how sultry it is. Just not a safe situation for those without the air conditioning. So trying to give everybody that early heads up, that first alert, I might say, for those nasty temperatures ahead. So something to definitely keep an eye on. Otherwise, no major problems. We don't have any severe weather threats. Yes, there is a chance, somebody had asked, will these storms turn severe if we do have some of the slim storm chances? Likely not. But you can't rule it out completely because how this works, you have a slew of that heat and humidity. You don't really have a big, forcing mechanism, in this case, a big storm system rolling in. But it's not to say that these are going to be kind of pulse-type storms, what we call pulse-type storms. They pulse up very quickly in intensity within about a half an hour, and then the next half hour after they peak, they quickly pulse back down and fall apart. They don't have anything to sustain them necessarily. They're not going to be long-lived storms, but they could quickly pulse up and become briefly severe and have some gusty winds as they fall apart, but it's not a widespread severe event with those. So sorry, I think I only half answered that question and then got distracted earlier. Other than that, yeah, just hot. Again, a lot of alerts on there. I know that can be a lot, but we'll keep them up there through the duration of this heat event, especially since the National Weather Service has put us under an extreme heat watch beginning on Sunday. Did I even have that in here? I didn't. It was in the other show. Hold on. Let's go back to that. Just one quick heads up, and we'll see if there's any more questions rolling in here on a Friday, the first day of summer. This, by the way, I don't love the wording on this. The National Weather Service changed this year. I'm not sure what processes it went through to get approved or whatnot, but I just think it's a little over the top, at least for 100 to 105. yes, it's going to be a problem, but extreme heat watch. This used to be called an excessive heat watch, an excessive heat warning, which I thought fitted a little bit better, but who am I? Extreme heat watch for the entire tri-state with the exception of Decatur County. That runs, begins on Sunday. It also carries on into Monday afternoon and Tuesday afternoon, right? So please be safe out there. If you have the outside job, so you're not me inside in the air conditioning. If you're out there, out and about, take plenty of water with you next week. If you have to be outside, if you're trying to get yard work done, today is the day to do it. If you wait off until Sunday, you're like, I have some plans today, tomorrow, and Sunday looks to be my next available day. You're going to pay for it, and you're going to pay for it in sweat. It is going to be hot. Take plenty of breaks. You'll have to take more breaks on Sunday if you're going to be out and about. And then next week, like I said, just a really steamy one. Temperatures anywhere, low to mid 90s feels like temperatures between about 100 to 105. That's why that extreme heat watch is in place. I would think that would be for something more like 110, but again, I did not have any say in the wording process, nor did any of your other local meteorologists, so which is fine. We're going to way back through the forecast. I'll pull this up full screen. I'll cut it quick today and leave you with your summer to yourselves here for the rest of the afternoon because I'm hungry. It's that time of the day. You know how it gets. Hopefully, by the way, if you were watching last night down at the Dearborn County Fair, hopefully you got to catch some snippets of that. I'm going to be posting a video here, hopefully shortly, once I get done editing it. And I'll post it to social media of some of the low lights of my fourth place win last night. Fourth place, no medals, of the celebrity, and really put celebrity in quotes, celebrity for me, showmanship contest there for the animals. We had goats, sheep, and chickens. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not chickens. What am I thinking? That's what I had when I was growing up in 4-H. We had goats, sheep, and chickens. Last night we showed goats, sheep, and pigs. I've never shown pigs before. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think the pig knew what it was doing, to be honest with you. I tried my best. Fourth place, your fourth place meteorologist showmanship champion right here. Giving you this forecast. A lot of heat next week. Just stay cool out there. I can only say it so many times, before it gets annoying. 90 out there by Sunday. That's our next hottest day, and we are being alerted of that heat all week long. Feels like temperatures 100 to 105. Stay safe. Enjoy otherwise what looks to be a mostly pleasant forecast ahead. Get out there and enjoy your Friday, everybody.